I was just chatting with a friend the other day, and she was torn between buying a regular commuter bike, a scooter, or finally splurging on an electric bike that could actually replace her car for the weekend trips. She kept asking, what if I end up paying a lot for something that can't handle the hills on my route, or that's impossible to store in my apartment? Those are the exact worries most of us have before we drop a few $100 on a folding e-bike. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through the VITILAN i7 Pro 3.0 and see whether it really solves those pain points, or just adds another set of compromises to your garage. First off, the i7 Pro isn't marketed as a budget city bike. It's a 750W motor that peaks at 1,200W, pushing you up to 28 miles per hour when you hit the throttle. That kind of power is more than enough to zip past traffic on a suburban road, and it also means you can climb a 10% grade without breaking a sweat. In real life, that translates to a commuter who lives a couple of miles from the train station, but still has to tackle a hilly bike lane. You can pedal lightly, let the motor do the heavy lifting, and still arrive on time without arriving drenched in sweat. Range is another hot topic. The bike ships with a removable 48V20Ah battery that the manufacturer claims can cover more than 60 miles on a single charge. In practice, that number is realistic if you ride at moderate speeds on flat terrain with a light rider. If you start pushing the top speed, hitting rougher surfaces, or carry a backpack, you'll see the mileage dip into the 4,050-mile zone. The fact that the battery is removable is a real convenience. You can take it inside to charge while the bike sits folded under your desk, and you don't have to worry about a dead battery in the rain because the pack is housed in a waterproof aluminum case. Now, the folding part is where the i7 Pro tries to set itself apart. The frame collapses in under a minute, and the whole thing fits into a space about the size of a large backpack. For anyone living in a studio or sharing a small garage, that's a massive win. You can hop on the subway, store it on a bus, or tuck it into a closet without blocking a hallway. The only trade-off is weight. With the motor, battery, hydraulic brake system, and a pair of 20-inch fat tires, the bike tips the scales at around 60 pounds. That's still lighter than a full-size mountain bike with a motor, but it's not something you'll want to lug up 3 flights of stairs on a daily basis. Speaking of tires, the i7 Pro comes with 20-inch CST anti-skid fat tires. Those are great if you occasionally venture onto gravel paths, loose sand, or snow-covered sidewalks. The extra width gives you confidence on slippery surfaces, and the fat rubber absorbs a lot of the bumps you'd otherwise feel on city potholes. On smooth pavement, however, the larger contact patch can feel a little wobbly at the higher speeds, especially if you're riding solo without a passenger. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's something to keep in mind if your main route is a straight, well-paved road. Full suspension and hydraulic brakes are two features you don't always see together on folding e-bikes. The front and rear suspension forks soften the impact of curbs and potholes, which makes longer rides feel less taxing on your back and shoulders. The hydraulic disc brakes give you confident stopping power, even when you're descending a hill at 20 miles per hour. In everyday use, you'll notice that you can brake later without the wobble you sometimes get with rim brakes on wet streets. The downside: hydraulic systems require periodic fluid checks and can be more expensive to service than simple mechanical discs. If you're not comfortable taking the bike to a shop for a brake bleed, you might face an extra maintenance cost down the line. So, who should actually consider the VITILAN i7 Pro? If you're an adult commuter who values speed, wants a bike that can double as a weekend trail rider, and you have a place to store a 60-pound bike when it's folded, this model checks a lot of boxes. It's also a solid pick for people who need to take the bike on public transport or store it in a cramped apartment. Its folding design and removable battery make that scenario painless. The high-speed capability is a bonus for anyone who feels uncomfortable riding a regular e-bike that maxes out at 20 miles per hour, especially in areas where you can legally ride faster. On the flip side, you might want to skip this bike if you're looking for an ultralight commuter that you can carry upstairs every day. The weight, while manageable, is still a factor for those on the third floor with no elevator. If your daily commute already exceeds 50 miles, you'll probably need a larger battery pack or